Hello everyone, and welcome. I'm excited to introduce today's presentation on essential tips for crafting effective research proposals. This is the first step toward getting your research ideas approved and moving forward successfully. In this session, we'll explore key strategies to help you write proposals that stand out and get noticed. We'll cover everything from structuring your proposal to making it compelling and clear. I'm glad you're here, and I look forward to sharing these valuable tips with you. Let's get started. Let's take a closer look at Slide 2, titled Research Proposal Development. Here, we're focusing on the crucial process of developing a solid research proposal. This step is fundamental because it sets the foundation for your entire project. First, it's important to thoroughly understand what a research proposal entails. Essentially, it's a detailed plan that outlines what you want to study, why it's important, and how you plan to do it. A well-crafted proposal not only guides your research, but also convinces others of its significance. Key points to highlight include defining your research problem clearly, which means pinpointing exactly what question you're trying to answer. Then, you'll need to review existing literature to understand what's already known and where your work fits in. Next comes formulating your research objectives and hypotheses. These should be specific, measurable, and achievable. This clarity helps keep your project focused and manageable. Another critical aspect is designing your methodology, detailing the methods and tools you'll use to gather and analyze data. This part demonstrates the feasibility of your project and your preparedness. Finally, remember that developing a research proposal is an iterative process. You'll often refine your ideas as you gather more information and get feedback. Connecting all these points to the larger theme, a strong proposal is essential because it not only guides your work, but also communicates your vision and purpose to others, whether it's your advisors, funding agencies, or your future audience. Today, I want to talk about the core purpose of research proposals. These documents are really the gatekeepers for ensuring academic rigor and feasibility in our postgraduate projects. They help us clarify our ideas and demonstrate that our research is both worthwhile and achievable. When we develop a solid proposal, we're laying a strong foundation for the entire research process. It's not just about getting approval, it's about setting ourselves up for success from the very beginning. So remember, a well-crafted proposal is essential to guide us through our academic journey and ensure our work is of the highest quality. Let's take a closer look at demystifying research proposals. Many people think of them as just administrative tasks, but really, they are formal academic documents that lay out the foundation for your research. Understanding the structure of a proposal is crucial because it helps you organize your ideas clearly and logically. Typically, a research proposal includes sections like the introduction, literature review, methodology, and expected outcomes, all working together to build a coherent argument. When aiming for success, remember that clarity is key. Your ideas should be easy to follow. Alignment is also essential. Make sure each part supports your main research question. Originality can set your proposal apart, so highlight what's unique about your approach. And of course, feasibility matters. Ensure your plan is realistic within your resources and timeframe. Now, let's talk about common pitfalls to avoid. Vague problems can weaken your proposal, so be specific and precise. Misaligned questions can cause confusion, so make sure your research questions match your objectives. Lastly, avoid overly descriptive writing that bogs down your proposal. Focus on being concise and to the point. This way, your proposal will be compelling, well-structured, and ready to make a strong case for your research. Let's talk about what makes a strong research proposal. First, it's a reasoned justification that positions your study within the broader scholarly conversations. Basically, it shows how your work fits into what others have already said and what gaps you're aiming to fill. Next, the detailed research plan is crucial. This part outlines exactly how you plan to conduct your study, covering the design, methods, data sources, and analytical strategies. It's your roadmap, making sure everything is clear and feasible. Lastly, the justification of the study explains why your research matters. Whether it's for theoretical insights, empirical evidence, or practical applications, you need to demonstrate its importance and back it up with evidence. Together, these elements help create a compelling case for your research. Now, let's look at how a proposal functions in the research process. First, it demonstrates field understanding. This means showing that I truly grasp the key theories and debates relevant to my area. It's important because it assures that I'm prepared to conduct independent research confidently. Next, the proposal establishes the study's significance. Here, I need to clearly articulate how my research will contribute to knowledge, policy, or practice. This helps justify why resources should be invested in my project. Then, we have the presentation of research methodology. It's crucial that I detail my methods clearly so evaluators can assess whether my research design is appropriate and ethically sound. Lastly, a proposal serves as a planning and development tool. It guides my research focus, helps refine my questions, and supports both my development as a researcher and the evaluator's understanding of my work. These functions, collectively, ensure my research is well-founded and viable. Let's take a closer look at the structure of a research proposal. First, we start with a clear title and background. The title should be concise but descriptive enough to give a quick idea of what the study is about. The background then provides the necessary context, explaining why this topic is important and what has already been explored in this area. This sets the stage for understanding the rationale behind the study. Next, we move to the problem statement and research questions. The problem statement is crucial because it identifies the specific gap or issue in existing knowledge that your research aims to address. It highlights what's missing or unclear. Following that, the research questions or objectives are formulated to guide the inquiry, giving a clear direction for your investigation. Then, we examine the literature and framework. Conducting a critical literature review helps situate your study within the broader academic conversation. It shows what has been done and where your work fits in. Supported by a theoretical or conceptual framework, this part explains the key concepts and the lens through which you will analyze your data. Finally, we look at the methodology and significance. The methodology section outlines your research design and the methods you'll use to gather and analyze data. It's the blueprint of your research process. Concluding this part, you emphasize the significance of your study, what it contributes to the field, and its potential impact. Overall, this structure ensures your proposal is comprehensive, focused, and well-grounded, setting a strong foundation for your research project. Let's start by looking at the key idea of the context, which is to establish the broader academic, social, or policy background that makes our research problem relevant. This background helps us understand the bigger picture and sets the stage for why this study matters. Next, we see the concept of progressive narrowing. That means we begin with a broad overview and then gradually focus in on the specific issue we're investigating. This approach helps to highlight how our particular research fits into the larger landscape. Moving on to justification and relevance, it's important to demonstrate why this study is timely and significant. We want to show that it addresses a gap in the existing research, something that hasn't been explored enough yet, and that it has real-world importance. Finally, all these elements work together to prepare the reader for the problem statement. By providing a logical and compelling background, we make it clear why this specific problem is worth investigating and how it connects to the broader issues we've discussed. In summary, this slide emphasizes how a well-structured background builds a solid foundation, leading smoothly into the core research problem we aim to address. Let's talk about the core purpose of the problem statement. Essentially, it serves to identify a specific gap or unresolved issue within current knowledge or practice. It's important that this gap is clearly and precisely defined so that everyone understands exactly what needs to be addressed. Moving on to the characteristics of a strong statement, it must be specific, researchable, and grounded in credible sources. We want to avoid speculation or opinions that aren't backed by evidence. This ensures our problem statement is solid and reliable. Now, how does this impact the overall research design? A well-crafted problem statement actually drives the research questions we develop, influences the methodology we choose, and helps define the scope of our study. It's the foundation that guides every decision we make. Finally, I want to highlight the importance of careful formulation. A weak problem statement can lead to rejection of a proposal or major revisions later on. Precision and clarity are crucial to avoid those setbacks and set our research on the right track. So, taking the time to formulate a strong problem statement is a key step toward a successful project. Now, let's talk about the purpose of research questions. Essentially, they serve to turn our problem statements into specific, answerable inquiries. This helps guide our entire study in a clear and focused direction. When questions are effective, they avoid ambiguity and unnecessary complexity, making sure they are straightforward and manageable within our constraints. It's also crucial that our research questions align directly with the problem statement. They should target the specific gaps we've identified without straying off course. Finally, well-crafted questions act as a roadmap for the research process. They inform our literature review, help us choose the right framework, and shape our methodology. In short, good research questions are fundamental to guiding the entire study smoothly and effectively. Now, let's talk about critical engagement in the literature review. It's not just about summarizing theories and findings, it's about engaging with them critically. This means examining how different ideas relate to each other, questioning assumptions, and assessing the validity of the evidence. Next, we have comparing perspectives. This is where we look at where scholars agree and where they disagree. By doing this, we can identify the strengths in their arguments as well as the limitations. It helps us understand the broader debate and where our research can contribute. Then, there's identifying research gaps. As we review the literature, we'll notice areas that haven't been fully explored or questions that remain unanswered. These gaps justify the need for our own research and help us focus our study on something new and valuable. Finally, literature review informs our research design. It guides us in refining our research questions and choosing the most appropriate methods. By understanding what has been done and what gaps remain, we can design a study that truly advances the field. Let's take a closer look at the purpose of frameworks in research. Frameworks serve as a guide for interpreting and analyzing studies by providing an intellectual structure that brings clarity. They help us organize our thoughts and ensure we're approaching our research systematically. Now, when we talk about the theoretical framework, we're referring to the theories or models that act as an analytical lens. These frameworks allow us to interpret phenomena through established perspectives, making our analysis more grounded and meaningful. Moving on to the conceptual framework, this is often a visual or narrative map that shows key concepts and how they relate to each other within our research. It helps us see the bigger picture and understand the connections between different ideas. Finally, the scholarly significance of well-articulated frameworks cannot be overstated. They demonstrate our awareness of existing theories and show that our analysis is thorough and well-considered. A strong framework adds credibility and depth to our research proposals. Let's dive into our research design and approach. Here, we specify whether we're using qualitative, quantitative, or mixed methods, and we justify this choice based on our research questions. This helps ensure our approach aligns well with what we're trying to find out. Moving on to data collection methods, we describe our sampling strategies, the instruments we'll use, and the procedures for gathering data effectively. This is crucial for obtaining reliable and valid results. Next, we address ethical considerations. This includes discussing how we handle ethics, as well as issues related to validity, reliability, and trustworthiness in our methodology. Maintaining ethical standards and ensuring our research is credible are paramount. Finally, we outline our data analysis plan. Here, we detail clear and feasible strategies for analyzing the data, making sure our methods are aligned with our research questions. All of these components work together to build a solid foundation for our study. Now, let's look at how this study contributes to our existing knowledge. Essentially, it helps fill in some gaps that previous research hasn't fully addressed. It also extends current theories and provides new empirical insights, which push our understanding forward. Moving on to policy relevance, these findings are not just academic. they can actually inform policy decisions. This means they can help address societal challenges more effectively and create real-world impact. Next, the practical implications are significant as well. The research offers tangible benefits for professionals, institutions, and communities involved in this field. It's about turning knowledge into action, making a difference where it matters most. Finally, justifying support for this research is crucial. Clearly outlining its significance strengthens the case for approval and funding, showing why this work deserves backing. In summary, this slide underscores how our study advances knowledge, influences policy, benefits practice, and justifies support, all key pieces that highlight its overall importance. Let's talk about what makes a proposal strong. First, clarity in proposals is essential. A strong proposal clearly articulates concepts, arguments, and intentions without any ambiguity. It should leave no doubt about what you're trying to communicate. Next, logical coherence is key. The proposal needs to have a smooth, logical flow. All sections should connect internally and make sense as a whole, guiding the reader naturally from one part to the next. Alignment of components is also crucial. The problem, research questions, literature review, framework, and methods all need to align perfectly to address that core issue we're focusing on. When everything lines up, the proposal feels cohesive and purposeful. Finally, the feasibility of the study matters. It's important to consider whether the research is realistically achievable given your time, resources, and ethical constraints. A feasible plan demonstrates that your project is practical and well thought out. In summary, a strong proposal is clear, coherent, aligned, and feasible. Keep these elements in mind to make your proposals compelling and effective. When it comes to choosing research topics, one common mistake is selecting subjects that are too vague or broad. This makes it really difficult to focus your investigation and develop a clear, effective research proposal. Instead, aim for a more specific topic that allows for targeted exploration. Another issue we often see is weak problem statements. When your problem statement lacks evidence or isn't specific enough, it weakens the foundation of your proposal and can make your entire research seem unfocused. A strong problem statement should clearly define the issue with supporting evidence to back it up. Misalignment between sections is also a challenge. If your research questions don't match your methodology, it raises questions about the coherence and credibility of your proposal. Ensuring that your questions and methods are aligned is key to creating a logical and convincing research plan. Finally, many proposals fall short because they lack critical analysis. Relying solely on descriptive writing without engaging in critical thinking diminishes the depth and impact of your literature review. Remember, it's not just about summarizing existing work, but also critically evaluating and synthesizing it to support your research. Now, let's look at some examples that show the contrast between weak and strong topics. On the left, we have a broad, somewhat generic topic like technology and education. While it's an important area, it can be quite broad and challenging to focus on specifically. On the right, we see a more targeted and impactful topic: the impact of mobile learning applications on first-year university students' study habits. This specifies the technology, mobile learning apps, and the population, first-year university students, making it clearer what the research is about and what we aim to understand. Moving to the second row, we have leadership in schools as a weak topic. It's a broad concept that can cover many different aspects. But the strong topic, instructional leadership practices of public secondary school principals in urban Gauteng, sharpens the focus. It specifies the type of leadership, the level of education, the geographic location, and the specific practices, which helps guide the research and discussion. Finally, the third example compares climate change issues with community perceptions of climate change adaptation strategies in rural Limpopo. Again, the strong topic narrows the scope significantly. It centers on community perceptions and adaptation strategies in a specific rural area, making it a more manageable and meaningful research focus. Overall, these examples highlight the importance of refining broad topics into specific, focused research questions or statements. By doing this, we ensure our research is clear, achievable, and relevant to the particular context we're interested in. Now, let's talk about the purpose of a research proposal. Essentially, a research proposal is more than just a description of what you plan to study. It's a persuasive academic argument that makes the case for why your research is important and worth pursuing. It's about convincing others that your project has value. Next, we look at the approval criteria. Gaining approval depends on demonstrating strong reasoning, clear and logical structure, and ensuring that all parts of your proposal are aligned. Every section should support your overall argument and make it easy for reviewers to see the validity of your approach. Finally, the writing approach is crucial. Treat proposal writing as an intellectual and argumentative task. When you see it this way, your writing naturally becomes more compelling and coherent. This perspective not only improves the quality of your proposal, but also increases your chances of success. Thank you for following along with this presentation. As we come to the end, I want to emphasize the importance of the key points we've discussed today. Remember, the core concepts are not just theoretical, they're practical tools you can apply immediately. This final slide serves as a reminder of the main ideas and how they connect to the overall theme of innovation and continuous improvement. Keep in mind that the journey doesn't end here. It's about taking these insights and turning them into action. Stay engaged, stay curious, and I look forward to seeing how you'll implement these strategies moving forward. Next video.